Hey Ian, so glad you could join me today. Hey, I know that you've been working on and just finished Psalm 92, and I just wanted to have a conversation, see how it went. Tell me about what it means and what kind of the look behind, since I don't work on the exegetical team, what's it look like when you're working on Psalm 92?
In kind of retrospect, coming out
Yeah.
the other side. Um, yeah, I think there's a lot of things as an exegete you don't foresee going into a psalm. You could say, okay, the 92, it's kind of average length. Um, I think some of the verses might ring a bell from when I read them before. So let's see what it's all about. And I think before you jump in to really spend the time. So as you know of our process, we go from bottom up, the very, very smallest details, and about halfway through, and simultaneously we go from top down. So all of the tiny details coming together for the meaning of individual words, the meaning of individual poetic lines, how they all fit in together. Um, and then that kind of second back nine, as it were, of the top-down approach of just as a poem, as one literary unit, as they call it. What's the psalm all about? What's the message? What's it trying to communicate? How can we be encouraged by it? How can we be challenged by it? How can we bring out the beauty of its poetics in Hebrew, which it has a plethora. Um, all of
Well,
those were, yeah, like
yeah, so tell me,
surprising as I went through.
so tell me about more about the psalm. Tell me about the poetics and what did you find intriguing? What did you learn as you went through it? Tell me about Psalm 92.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you just read it from verse 1 to 16, the first verse is what's called a superscription. It's like the title of the psalm. Very, very old tradition, and we treat it as part of the text. And it says that this is a psalm for the Sabbath day. And if you read the literature, the commentaries, the articles, the books that have been written about this psalm, there's a pretty good consensus view of this is later. It reflects later liturgy, and it has nothing to do with the message of the psalm. And that just wasn't really satisfying to us because you've got a whole verse out of 16 that apparently has nothing to do with the other 15. So we wrestled and struggled with, okay, what about the Sabbath day does the psalm really have to say? And one thing that came out quite soon was there's seven uses of the Lord's name throughout the psalm, his special covenant name. And so for 7 days, obviously, and then the middle instance is right in the middle verse of the psalm, which is only one line, whereas every other verse is two lines or three. You have this unique one line in verse 9, and it says, "But you, O Lord, are on high forever." And so you link these parts. You got this weird title, something about the Sabbath day. You got the Lord is on high. There's seven mentions of his name, which seems to be a strategic kind of key, interpretive key there. And then you get to the all the way to the end of the psalm, and it kind of finishes on this note of the righteous are going to be okay, and they'll declare that the Lord is fair, just, and there's no injustice in him. And so tying kind of the beginning, the middle, and the end all into one coherent message then was the struggle of what does it mean that the Sabbath day is going to be one day of perfection where all wrongs will be made right and the righteous will flourish and that the wicked will be punished. So this is the tension ongoing through the psalm and how the different poetic features really bring out that tension where it might look like the wicked are having a good time right now, but one day their time will come. And as for the righteous, just hold on, be patient. You're going to flourish even forever, not just for a short time. So surprise, surprise, it all ended up tying in together in one coherent message. But this doesn't start to reveal itself until kind of weeks and months of hard work. And so those were some of the exciting effects of the poetic structure, that sevenfold structure, and the very last line that why does it matter that there's no injustice in God? What does that have to do with the Sabbath? And the message became really exciting and clear after that. So.
From beginning to end, how long did it take you and the others to complete Psalm 92?
I started a little bit informally as I was working on other Psalms last summer because I had to do a study on it at my local church, and it was very insightful as well when you have to teach it to other people and really bring out the meat. You can't really take any shortcuts, But then I worked on it then in earnest from towards the end of the year, probably the last quarter, through to then January, February. So typically a psalm of this size, it's about average size, 16 verses, will take a quarter, maybe 4 or 5 months, depending on the complexity. So it was around that time, towards the turn of the end of the year. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it takes us time to produce videos and all the
Mm.
different components. So it takes another month or two to kind
Yeah.
of package it all together. So, yeah,
Yeah, and we're finally there, which is very exciting.
yeah,
I'm
that's
looking forward to
exciting.
seeing.
So, were
Yeah.
there any difficult parts of the song that you struggled with, or different things that you found that, like, okay, what's some of the exegetical features that you go, oh wow, this is going to take me more time?
Yeah. Well, one was the Sabbath day. What does that have to do with anything? So we wrestled through that, and I think found a pretty satisfying answer, which just makes the whole psalm just makes sense when you read it, when you maybe perform it, when you recite it. Now you can really appreciate that unified message of the future Sabbath of one day, all wrongs being made right, but also the kind of the common wisdom of what we think we understand about Hebrew verbs. In this psalm could be read two very different ways. So, and a lot of modern translations take it this way as like kind of a praise for all the good things that God has already done. So the psalmist praises God um, for his victories, for the destruction of the wicked, But we read this ongoing tension in because of the very last verse, which really highlights that there's no injustice in God, and that His people should remember that and recite it. And it was very possible and a very valid way, and we think a superior way to read the verbs as actually a present reality. That it might look like the wicked are flourishing right now for a short time, but they will be destroyed. Not that they did one day, and now the psalmist can rejoice. So two kind of conflicting ways to read it, either as a past victory that then the psalmist turns and gives praise and thanks for, or an ongoing tension, which we think made a lot more sense of the psalm. Um, but that he can still look forward to that day when the righteous will flourish forever. And so that was one struggle that I think we were very satisfied in how it complemented the coherent message of the psalm. So.
So you were the overseer on the psalm and worked through and led the team, but how many people were involved overall with the psalm during this time?
So we have what's called the guardian of a psalm. We have one specific exegete who kind of takes the psalm from start to finish, but it's very much a team effort because then you have peer reviews with another colleague who will be working on another psalm at the same time, and will review each other's work essentially. And then the specialists for each layer of our analysis, which who will be the overseers, they then review. And then at kind of big milestones, Elizabeth would do the final checks and review, uh, yeah, 5 or 6 times throughout the entire process. So probably in total, three consistently, and then also the overseers of each layer who have specialized in those areas of analysis. So yeah, in total, yeah, probably 6 or 7 people of the team
Yeah.
involved in the exegesis, not including the video, the script writing, and even some of the translation and performance notes, which then go into the other side of our organization.
Yeah, it's a total team effort when it comes down to it. I know
Yeah.
somebody is put kind of at the spear of the head, of the process, but
Mm.
it really takes a team. But so anything you would share for those who are supporting and helping to make all this happen?
I hope they're as excited as we are to see the final product and to see people be able to use these materials to make sense of the salmon, I think, a much more satisfying and deeper way. And like we just said, it's a team effort even among us. So none of this obviously could happen without supporters and donors. Yeah, I don't want to give a percentage, but 50%, half of the work is there. It's made possible by them. Otherwise, these resources would never see the light of day, and we wouldn't be able to do this. So Sam 92 will hopefully be able to be appreciated by a number of teams and workshops throughout the world soon because of that. So we're very thankful.
Yeah. Well, Ian, thank you so much for your time and all your team's effort. And um, yeah, we will talk to you soon.